so much fun to whistle along to. You can whistle along.
Hey guys, welcome to my first video. As you can tell, the topic I'm going to be discussing today is driving for Postmates worth it? I decided to make this video and start this channel overall, mostly just because I have kind of found myself doing a lot of, or trying to do a lot of weird side gigs over the past year, just to try to make ends meet. Because let's be real, life is expensive, and life just keeps getting more expensive. And I often find myself like telling people about the weird side gigs I do. Not that I'm crazy successful at any of them, but I like to try things out. It's kind of just something I enjoy doing. So I figured I would just sort of try to review some of the things I do to make money on the side. And by the side, I mean I kind of just use them all together to make money as sort of a mishmash conglomeration. I don't really have a real job right now. That's another story. My life is a mess. Another story for another day. Anyway, getting down to business, I just wanted to give my honest opinion about this topic, whether it's worth it or not, and then just go over some of the pros and cons of driving for Postmates. So, to be honest, drum roll please. Driving for Postmates it's really not terrible, but it's also not how I want to spend my time most of the time. However, it is super nice to have as an option. So I cannot fault it for that. And it's nice to have as, like, if I need a little extra money some week, to be able to just turn it on and make some money that way. So that's kind of the basic answer I'm going to give, is that it is not something that I love doing. And there are definitely sort of downsides to it in ways in which a lot of people, not just myself, are not super happy with it, but it is also cool to be able to do whenever you want. So if you have not heard of Postmates, it is a on-demand food delivery service where you can order food from a ton of different restaurants and have it delivered to you like within the hour. And there are a lot of other similar type of food delivery on-demand services popping up, like Uber Eats, Grubhub, Bite Squad, Amazon restaurants. There's more. DoorDash, that's one too. But I would say, like, depending on where you live, Postmates could be the most popular. It's definitely a big one. So a little background on me. Also, I started driving for Postmates in September because I moved to a new area of the country and I really needed a way to make money, like ASAP. And I was like, that time I had the idea I was gonna like get this great job and not have to do it for that long. But you know, 3.5 months later, here we are, still driving part-time. That's my life, so that's cool. So getting into more of the pros and the cons of driving for Postmates. So first pro is that you can, like I mentioned, you can do it anywhere you want, pretty much anytime you want. You know, you could turn yourself online at literally 3 a.m. and if someone wants food, which someone probably does, especially if it's a Friday or Saturday, then you can deliver and make money. Of course, there has to be the demand for it, so there has to be actually people ordering food, but especially if you live in a city, there's probably going to be some deliveries. A second pro is that you really have no limit to how much money you can earn. And what I mean by that is that yes, you are limited by like how many deliveries you can make in like an hour, say, if you're looking at like your hourly rate. But you know, technically if you went super fast, I would say most people make about 2 deliveries an hour, but you could technically, if you got lucky and you were able to go really fast, you could make more than that, and you could, you know, potentially make really good tips. And so going in, you don't know how much you're going to make. And in some ways that's kind of motivating for me because I'm like, you know, I could make bank today, like time to like, you know, put my positive attitude on, time to like, you know, drive really well and not be an asshole, but also not like be lazy and start texting between deliveries and all of that. Although I'm like literally filming a video between deliveries, so like what does that say about me? Filming at sunset is a struggle, man. A third pro is that you don't have a boss to boss you around and obviously make your schedule. Like that ties into the first pro, but also you don't have anyone to tell you like how to do things or what way. I mean, obviously you're supposed to follow like a procedure, but you don't have someone just breathing down your neck all the time, which is pretty nice in my opinion, so that's cool. A fourth pro that I forgot, so I'm inserting it in later, hence why it's dark, is that you get instant payout if you want. Now, obviously for most jobs, you have to wait every week or every 2 weeks to get a paycheck. Postmates does it automatically every Monday, but you can also cash out whatever money you've earned at any time for only 50 cents, which is so nice to have, especially if you need a little cash like at the end of the month or if you just want to do something that weekend. So that's super nice to have, I have to say. Love that. Now for the cons, and wow, it is getting dark. First con that I would say is probably the most obvious one is that you're using your own vehicle, and so that kind of implies a lot of things, like you're using all of your own gas money. So, if you made X amount of dollars per hour, you also have to factor in gas. So subtract off how much gas you use per hour, and that's like kind of your net gain. That's kind of how I see it. Because there might be times when you're driving not that much and times when you're driving a lot. So that can really vary as well. You're also putting wear and tear on your car just by being in it. You're risking getting into accidents just because you're on the road so much more. You also often have to park in places that you're not supposed to park for a little while, which sucks. Like, I get very stressed out by this. Like, even if I put my flashers on, I will worry the whole time. Like, if I go into a restaurant and I have to wait a few minutes for the delivery to be ready, I'll be like tapping my foot and like, oh my God, am I going to get towed? Am I going to get towed? Like, just kind of like the constant stress of that. So that's definitely one of the downsides of Postmates. You're not provided a vehicle, got to use your own. Kind of sucks. The second downside is that there's no guaranteed pay. So, you could spend 1 hour on a delivery. You could spend 20 minutes on a delivery. And kind of the factors that cause you to spend a different amount of time on a delivery are not always in your control. So with a lot of jobs, your performance, like how well you're working, can affect how quickly you get things done, or you want it to, right? Especially if you're being paid per thing you get done. But if you're driving 3 miles to make a delivery, Postmates doesn't care if you're driving those 3 miles in 5 minutes or 50 minutes. You're still going to get paid the same. So that's a bummer. You're also not guaranteed tips, which is a big one. And I understand why people don't tip. I don't think that a lot of people do it because they don't want to. Obviously, some people do. But I think there's kind of a lack of awareness that you are supposed to tip on those kinds of apps because you're paying so much just to get that delivery. Like, usually when you do that kind of delivery, you're paying like twice what you would pay just for the item in the restaurant, because you have your service fees and your tax and your delivery fee and all those other fees. And you assume that money is just going to compensate the driver fairly. But oftentimes, if you're not getting tipped, you're not going to even be making minimum wage. Especially if you factor in gas, you might be making like half of that. So whether you make good money is entirely contingent on whether you get good tips. And that can be kind of frustrating because even if you do everything right, the customer might not like their food, or you might have to sit in traffic, or the order might just take a super long time to be ready, and you're only paid 10 cents a minute for waiting for an order. So you could just be sitting there for half an hour and make like only $3 for that time, even though you would be out working if you could. Okay, the third con, and I think I'm just going to stick to 3 because even though I had 4 pros, I'm running low on light, obviously, and I think I kind of covered a lot with the first 2. The third con is that it is not a very rewarding or fun job to have. And I don't think it's not technically the worst job. Like, I'm not shoveling poop, but it's also just not something that is fulfilling in any way to me, and probably not to a lot of people, though it could be to some. Like, I don't hate customer service. I really do like just talking to people, but it is frustrating to just kind of spend so much time like sitting in traffic. And then sometimes like the restaurants don't really like the Postmates drivers. They're usually pretty friendly, honestly, but I kind of get that you kind of get annoyed with like the food delivery services. And then the customers might get annoyed at you if the restaurant fucked up your order, or if it took you too long to get there, or if, God forbid, you can't find their place, because that happens all the time. So yeah, it's not really a super fun, rewarding job, to be honest. It can be a little bit stressful at times, even though the overall like having the job is not stressful at all. There can be times where you're just like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. I want to go home. I don't want to deal with this, that kind of thing. And kind of the reward level of it on like an emotional level is pretty low for me. So yeah, that just about sums up what I had for pros and cons of driving for Postmates. I know I gave four pros and only 3 cons, but I have to say the cons do kind of outweigh the pros for me. Although it is not the worst job I've ever had, which isn't saying that much because I've had a lot of shitty jobs, but it's definitely not something I'd want to do full-time or long-term. I'm not trying to deter anyone from driving for Postmates. I think it's honestly, it's a really nice thing to have as a backup. Like, you know, we don't all want to go to work every day anyway. You know, we kind of don't always like our jobs as a general rule. So if you just want to make some money and you don't really care so much about what you do, it's not bad if you have your own car. You do have to be 21, which is the only thing, just because there are alcohol deliveries. But, you know, all things considered, it's not a bad gig. It's just not something I really enjoy. And it's not something you're going to get rich doing. I know I've seen ads online for Postmates on Craigslist, I think, that are like, make $20 to $22 an hour on your own time, be your own boss, blah, 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 all that pyramid scheme type sounding bullshit. Fortunately, it's not a pyramid scheme, but it's really like not as like chill and fun as they kind of make it seem. But that's about what I have to say about the topic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you liked it in the comments. Let me know if you have suggestions for future videos. And since I am new to YouTube on this channel, I'd love it if you subscribed or liked the video if you liked it. That's about all I have to say. Thanks guys. Bye.